People that abuse it, they get side effects that affect the well-being, like say the physical, like people will overeat because one of the side effects of the drug is it makes you want to eat more. And people call it the munchies, but but it can also, like, people that use it long term, it can mess with your mind. You start to lose things, or it also can make you distort, like time will like move fast for you, at least. And it happens to different people, many different people that can react to the same thing, but it also doesn't react at all. So they can have a negative output on that drug, so they kind of stay away from it. And like, there's also edible kinds, edible marijuana that, if people that have asthma, they made these things called gummies, CBD gummies. Like the people that have asthma, they can eat them, and they'll still have the same benefits of whatever is smokable. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I got more.
And you don't have the THC content?
Yeah, it just don't have the THC content where they just most likely just get the relax, like whatever's hurting you, it just kind of calms it down. Or if people are having a panic attack, they can either just have it and it kind of slows down the heartbeat. But the recreational, it does the opposite. It'll start increasing and make you kind of like, how does this say? Yeah, paranoid. People will, like, your anxiety will rise. That's if people will have a negative reaction to it. And it also impairs your vision, increasing appetite, and your motor functions, like whatever, if you're talking, it will just delay it more. But I think that's what I have for my summary. Who's next?
I'm next, and I have it from the business aspect of the industry. So as of January 2023, there are 44 tribal-owned dispensaries in 8 states. The one that I focused on was the Nuwu Marketplace, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It is the dispensary in Las Vegas, and it's right off the Strip, kind of near the downtown area. And how they were able to obtain that was through using their treaty rights. They have land in Las Vegas that they were given colonies. So they have a colony in Las Vegas, and they were able to use that land and to build the dispensary on there. And because I just forgot what I was going to say. Because it's legal on a federal level, that's how they are able to exercise their treaty rights and use that as a way to open their dispensary. So as of 2018, the tribe, the Shoshone tribe over in Las Vegas, they were able to pay off their debts and take care of like tribal members for the next 4 generations, and so I'm not even sure where that's at now. And that was just in 2018. So they were able to take care of like tribal programs, healthcare. They didn't really go into much detail about what programs, but they had all of those covered, as well as like fees that they owed to the city, their taxes. You know, one thing that Las Vegas did was, really, there was like the fees and their taxes are millions of dollars. And so they were thinking, okay, if we charge the heck out of them, they're not going to be able to afford it. But they did. They paid it off. They paid their debts off, and and are profiting. So not only are they paid off their debts and paid all the fees and everything to run their business properly, they were able to give back to the state, to the education programs. So not just tribal programs, but also to state programs. One thing that the Nuwu Marketplace is doing is that they are doing workshops and teaching other tribal members, so like people can go there to the dispensary and learn about the business. A lot of people think, oh, okay, let's go have fun, let's go party and smoke and that type of stuff, but there is actually the business side to it, and you know, you really can't party and have fun if you're trying to own a successful business. There's state regulations, and even learning about the growing side of things, there's a certain percentage that you have to have that would be considered hemp, and then there's the THC that would be considered marijuana, like what would be considered a drug and what would be considered just a regular plant. And you know, even learning about that, you know, there's a science to learning about that type of industry, and you know, in growing, you know, I can't even keep a house plant, you know, so even thinking about learning about lighting, soil, what kind of soil to use, you know, these are all things that they're teaching, and not only learning that from the cannabis industry, but then they can use that in other areas. Sustainable agriculture is one thing that a lot of tribes are picking up. And so, you know, learning about growing hemp or marijuana, you know, they could take that back and learning how to grow other things as well. You know, one thing that I'm not sure if you guys know is that they also grow hemp here at UTTC. And then with that, they keep it under that certain percentage that, you know, wouldn't be considered it was a drug. You know, for myself, you know, I don't smoke, I don't indulge in any of that, but I do agree with the business side of things. A lot of tribes are looking for ways to get out of debt, or looking for, you know, how to improve their communities and to build, bring new things to their areas. There's a lot of renovations and upgrades that many areas need, and so this would be definitely one thing or one industry that would pick everything up and, you know, bring that income in, you know, jobs and taking care of like the programs and debts and all these different things that we acquire, you know, over the years, you know. And the one thing, you know, that would be the negative of the industry, but it's kind of goes with every tribal program, is just misusing it. You know, there's people that embezzle or have run down a tribal program, you know, and that could happen with the cannabis, you know, if they didn't learn the right way. You know, and it's just could happen with any business, could happen with any program, but if they are educated and have the right tools, then it could be a successful venture. That's all I got.
Okay, I'm gonna sound my computer here a little bit, but mine's illegal. You gotta realize, okay, I moved back home in 2000, and I got involved in tribal politics. Okay, and at that time we were looking at, as you said, I'm more like the business aspect of Rebecca, and I was wanting to call a district chairman, and I was looking for ways to bring income into the tribe other than gaming. Okay, so I'm going to read this a little bit to you guys, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Legalization of cannabis has always been an ongoing struggle. From the time of its first use as currency, American currency in the beginning was printed on cannabis/hemp. That covers the THC and what do you call that one? CBD. This, where the fight to legalize cannabis, hemp is political. Cotton farmers fought the notion of a plant that rivaled that of cotton, the choice crop in those times. The battle begins. The industrial alternatives to normal crops. A crop that has many uses versus crops that can only be used for just a few uses. Cannabis, hemp, the super crop of uses. Another factor that has made legalization of cannabis a battle is that of a racial aspect, considered a medicine by some and a drug by others. The drug companies that make man-made health remedies versus a naturally grown flower that can be used in alternatives of prescriptions, medications, and their side effects. This then creates another political aspect that stops legalization once again. Corporation influence once again. With this stated, there is one aspect that has been overlooked. sovereignty of Native nations. This has been an uphill battle that Native nations are mastering, with a little help with acts through the political aspects that have been created legal loopholes and support the sovereignty of the Native nations. These acts support the agriculture, medical, and recreational and commercial aspects that make America create tax revenues for state, government, and especially Native nations that can create economic growth. Once again, the Native nations will be used to bring something considered illegal to make it legal. Yeah, I don't know these things, so. Gaming has been legalized and adapted by states to make gaming revenues and taxation. This is why 39 states have made legalization of medical cannabis and 11 states have adopted legal recreational cannabis in those states. Native nations are still in the infancy stage of the industrial and commerce aspects, and this could become a racial discrimination aspect. People that know that eventually that legalization of cannabis is going to happen actually have plans on setting up businesses first to start the business and gain the advantage before others. I skipped the whole thing there. But anyway, when it comes down to tribal sovereignty, tribes have made agreements with not states, but the government. And one of those things is that they can't make laws pertaining to the tribal reservations and the borders. And that's why state and federal laws don't apply to reservations. And that's, when I was in tribal politics, that was my argument with the tribal council in the state of South Dakota, because I argued with the state of South Dakota on this before I went to court. And I told them, I said, hey, you know what, according to our treaties that tribes have, the state and the federal government have no regulation on us and what we do on reservations because we're a sovereign nation. And that's what people need to realize, that sovereignty plays a big factor in anything that we do on a reservation. The side effects is that if the states don't set up the laws to make it legalized, we can only do it. Anybody can come onto the reservation and do it. And that's where taxation comes in. That's why I hate tribes that are signing tax agreements. Because they're already giving up the future taxes that we can be making off these future taxes on sales. I'm done.
Okay. All right, so I know our topic is about the benefits of tribal cannabis industry. So I'm just gonna read what I have. The support for medical marijuana is growing in unlikely places. In my article, I read that there are 3 out of every 4 American physicians support medical marijuana. And they go on to talk about the extent of tribal sovereignty as it relates to cannabis, and how that sovereignty might only allow production of cannabis on tribal lands, and only for tribal members. Tribal sovereignty means that state and local police have zero control over tribal lands. Allegedly, the tribal government has always had inherent sovereign government powers. And in 2014, the Department of Justice announced that they truly treat tribes as sovereign nations, but the concept of sovereignty is more complicated by the fact that not all tribes have their own reservation land, so it doesn't apply to those ones. I think that some tribes that can benefit from the sales and how they could benefit is because it would give the economy a boost, you know, like for example, everyone knows Colorado is legalized, you know. In the first year that they legalized, they topped like $700 million, you know, and that's outrageous, you know. Imagine what that could do for like the tribes or your personal tribe. And I read that state taxes does not apply to like tribal. Yeah, does not apply to would not apply to like tribal cannabis industry. So you would make more money, you know, you would benefit more from it. And we have 567 tribes in this in the United States, and you know we have casinos, and I think that would be a way we could advertise, you know, like you know, come to the casino and like have a little smoke spot and like, you know, little things for all the cannabis connoisseurs, you know, like it could be an open smoking destination, you know, and like especially like all these places that have casinos in like these cool places with mountains and like in New York and the woods, you know, make a little tree house and like, you know, make yeah, you know, like you gotta be innovative, you know, you have to be, but there's a lot of things that come into having the tribal cannabis industry on your reservations, but either way, there are tribes that don't want to be involved in the cannabis industry, and there are others that do, but they are so small, so there's not much that they could do. And I think that it would definitely bring a lot of good to our communities, but since like the regulations are always changing, it's unsure like if tribes will definitely like go into that industry.
So I'll be talking about how the tribal, or the opening a dispensary helped a Nevada tribe. In Ely, Nevada, 2018, there was this determined 23-year-old Shoshone tribal member, Trent Griffin. He was very vocal about the legalization of cannabis on his reservation. The Ely Shoshone Indian Reservation, they supported him and backed him. With the support of the Shoshone Tribal Council and his millennial ingenuity, he was at the Nevada governor's office standing for pro-cannabis legislation. With his efforts and his determination and his persistence, he obtained a dispensary and a cultivation license and opened Za Nasua. That's a dispensary on the Shoshone Reservation. He is the manager of the dispensary. Za Nasua literally translates to feel good in Shoshone. He is now 3 years into running as the operation manager. Due to his fighting to legalize cannabis on his reservation, he was able to open a dispensary, making more jobs opportunities for the tribal members and the non-tribal members from surrounding areas. The revenue from the cannabis program helped White Pine County Boys and Girls Club with funds for their after-school program and their summer school program for all the kids, not just Native kids. The funds also help sponsor community powwows and traditional picking of plants. There's this national firm called the Tribal Cannabis Consulting. They help tribes who take interest in the cannabis industry, and they just help fund tribes to open dispensaries and stuff. They also offer other services like capital investments, funding development strategies, constellations, and complete development partnerships. That's all I got.
Good. So as a group, How far away are the reservations, the 5 reservations in North Dakota from adding dispensaries? Is it a year? Will it be 5 years? Any guesses there?
Let's say like, yeah,
I think it's gonna come down to individual owners on reservations. Because the state of North Dakota is hard to pass any kind of legalization. Bills like South Dakota, like my tribe down in Siston, and we're also part of North Dakota, so we got a casino right by, so the possibility of us opening up in North Dakota is probably quicker than the North Dakota tribes that are based on actually in North Dakota. I think it's all a matter of individual ownership within reservation boundaries, and the tribes need to start realizing what their sovereignty is when it comes to these issues.
Good. Any questions from the audience?
That was gonna be my question, what you just asked too.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, but
Because we know Vegas, Colorado, so Nevada, Colorado, what are some other, Oregon, Washington,
State.
California maybe, those 5?
Idaho.
Idaho's very conservative with their state legislature.
Isn't Nevada one?
Yeah.
Nevada should be up there. All right.
Minnesota.
Minnesota's beginning, yes. Okay,
Minneapolis.
Why would some tribes not want this industry?
good question.
Stella's is more on purpose.
Well, they talk, like, when you think about like marijuana, a lot of people think of drugs, like the meth or alcohol and all the bad things that come with it. You know, and we talked about that as well, you know, like, even with gambling, when they open casinos, they bring all kinds of different people in. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, some of them aren't good. They bring crime with them, they bring, you know, other kind of drugs or other kind of issues. And so that, you know, opens up the discussion for, you know, even having a better type of like law enforcement for tribes so that they can handle those type of things. So all the problems that come with that industry, that they can handle it and regulate it. So that was kind of the biggest thing, was just that the drug issue of it.
I think to elaborate more on that, to come on jurisdiction, who comes onto your reservation at the time? Are they a tribal enrolled member versus a non-tribal enrolled member? Because when you come on the reservation, you're supposed to apply, if you're a native, you're supposed to apply, you're supposed to follow the tribe's laws, okay? So a non-native doesn't have to do that. That's why you have FBI, BIA, and state kind of make jurisdiction on your reservation.
I think with technology and the fact that the casinos have such a foothold, that this industry, because the casino industry is already up and running, that if they take the lessons learned from the casino industry on infrastructure, law enforcement, all those that are already done, and then make a model, and models are being built every day because you have states now that are progressing.
And see, that's, I skipped out in my article, in my summary, is that it's just like gambling. Gambling was only in Nevada in certain places. Okay, but after the tribes started utilizing it, put it on reservations, then it became state legal. Like North Dakota, they got video hold tabs and video machines now. Okay, now you take marijuana. This is the tool that's going to be used to make marijuana legal in the states, and that's why you got 39 states and 11 reservations doing it. Most of the 39 states have one of the 11 tribes in there that legalized it. Like Plan, you take Planger for instance. They did have a smoking bar, but the federal government tried to come in and shut it down. But now they got their own dispensary, one of the premier dispensaries in South Dakota. And I know in Yankton, it's all individual ownerships that have dispensaries. I don't use it, but the idea is that I had to research it for the simple reason that it's an alternative moneymaker for the tribes. But the states, another reason why states are having trouble with it, because it's not recognized federally, The states can't collect the taxes off the tribes yet. It's still considered to be illegal to accept tax money on cannabis in such a city. So, like, I know, that's why I'm trying to figure out how Colorado does it. I don't think a tribe in Colorado has it yet. I believe so.
Any other questions from the audience?
I do.
Okay.
With the marijuana industry being implemented into tribal areas, and you said that with government restrictions on it with more law enforcement, doesn't that pose a more restrictive role in government interference? Because that would lead to the assumption that everyone has marijuana on their reservation and it's going to be that prominent. That's going to be a big problem to really combat.
That's one thing we were talking about, was even just places, like not even a tribal dispensary, but like maybe like in Washington, you know, and then there's the cops sitting right down the road after people pull out of the dispensary, you know, waiting for them to check them. You know, and that would be,
I think, okay, you're trying to say, if you're talking
Yeah.
federal overreach or state overreach. Because right now, the state of South Dakota, they made it, was it recreational or was it medical? Which one was it?
No, I think it's better, yes.
Okay, they made it medical legal last year in the election, or 2 years ago, they made it illegal. Kristi Noem was fighting it. Like if you did, 2 or 3 weeks ago, she was down on the borderline, she was advertising for state overreach on the reservations, because she's saying that because of the cartels coming north of the border, they're coming into the reservations, and she has no jurisdiction on the reservations to go in there and arrest people. I mean, why are you talking about Canada? Canada's right there, you know what I'm saying? North Dakota's right here. Washington, Minnesota. I mean, you're not worried about that north border, but that's state overreach trying to get political as well as government overreach. But then it goes back to your tribes being sovereign. You know, your leaders got to know what the sovereignty is and what their and how they sit with the government when it comes to the treaties. And that's what the problem is that the state does not want to recognize the tribe or the government when it comes to laws with the tribes. The certain rights that you got.
Very good.